So we got her clerk's name, and she said, well, I don't want to be in any trouble. I said, you won't be in any trouble, but if we need you to witness what she said, then that's what we're going to need you for. And she agreed to that. But I was just like, okay. So, of course, me being who I am, I went back over to the electronics department. And I just watched people that were coming up, white people, Caucasian people, coming up, hi, may I help? You need some help? The same guy who was pretty busy with me. I said, oh, okay. So we're, actually my friend who's from Indianapolis is in the process right now, talking to the person over the regional manager. Not necessarily to get anything, because you can't give me anything,
yeah,
you know what I'm
just
saying?
to-
I don't need, I mean, yeah, it'd be nice to have some money, but I'm not doing it for the money.
Right.
I'm doing it because,
teach.
exactly.
Exactly.
You know, and I'm saying, okay, anything in here that I want to buy, I can afford. You know what I'm saying? We were looking at an Xbox. That means you have to buy a controller and games and everything in between. But it didn't matter because, you know.
That's knowing your economic power. That's the only thing I teach my kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people mistreat us in the store. There are times if it's really subtle and they don't get it, I don't address it. But when it's very, very blatant,
Yes.
I deal with it there in a really, professional manner. But I want my
Yes.
children to know, you don't have to accept us.
Yeah,
I mean,
and we didn't buy anything. I said, no way am I gonna purchase anything here. There's no way I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
You know, I'll go to find another one.
Well, I've had, I mentioned this in class before, I had a policeman follow me for about 3 miles. I'm on the interstate, I'm driving 65 miles an hour. Now, I drive this route because I was driving from Kankakee to Champaign. And I was driving this for 2 months, this route. So I'm driving 65 miles an hour, partially because I don't feel like dealing with no cops, and the other partially because I'm cheap, and gas costs too much. So, on 65, and I see the cop. Now the cop is facing the opposite direction for the travelers who were going north. I was going south. He turns the car around, and he follows me for 3 miles.
3 miles alone.
And we changed interstates. So I changed from one interstate, 57, to interstate 74, and he followed me to 74. So what I like to do is I really like to pull over in areas that have closer exits and
You're right.
and more people. So I pulled over, and then he turns his lights on, comes up to the car, he says, and my mother always told me, keep 10 and 2.
Yeah.
Seatbelt on, look straight,
Yeah,
no
don't-
eye contact, no
contact,
attitudes.
that's right.
So he came up to the car, he said, can I get your license? I said, do you want my insurance and registration as well? No, just your license. So I said, okay. So he goes back to his car, comes back about 3 or 4 minutes later, says, your plate sticker is expired. So I said, okay. I said, okay, that's fine. So I'm gonna give you a warning. Okay, like I said, never took my insurance when I offered it to him. Never took my registration. And mind you, he's facing the north side of the street. I'm going 65 miles an hour going south. There's no way he could have saw that sticker was expired. And it's, mind you now, more other stickers had the same color as mine. So the number, you can't see the number's too small on the license plate, 165 opposite. So I knew what that was. He said, well, he asked me, where am I going? I said, I work at Champaign Marketplace Mall. I work at so-and-so store. I am the manager. So because it was apparent that either he'd seen me come this route a couple of times, or he hadn't seen me at all, but he was pulling me over just because he was wondering what I was doing. I had that, and so I had another instance, and when I was picking up my wife and where she's from, I had a cop. It was nighttime, and I'm just pulling out of a restaurant, and he drives past me, and he pulls his car, turns back around. I'm going like 4 miles an hour, I'm just pulling out of a parking space. Pulls me over. He says, "You don't have a plate in the front of your car." And so I've been a victim of being harassed by the police. Been a victim of walking in stores and having people walk down the aisles, people looking at me. I have been the victim of women, white women, who kind of tuck their purses in when I walk past. I've been the victim of those kind of things. I'm sure that some older ladies may tuck their purse in, white or black, but I've only been the victim from what I've seen is when, so it's kind of, I don't like it, but I'm not going to approach nobody. You know, you have the right to feel how you're going to feel. It's a shame that it shows and you wear it on your sleeve, but it happens. But as far as being followed, being targeted, being pulled over by police, you know, giving me warnings. I had a police give me a warning ticket, a warning for going 66 and a 65. And I said, well, he said, well, you know, you're going 66 miles an hour. Where are you going? I said, I'm going home. You know, because I was upset. It was one of the first times that I actually spoke back to the cop, you know, before. And I was like, I'm going home.
You know better.
And he was like, well, where are you going so fast that you have to drive past me? And I said, well, how fast was I going? I was going, because I knew how fast. I said, I was going 65. He said, no, you're going 66. So he gave me a warning. So, you know.
You know, keep
I-
your
What
mouth
you call
closed.
driving while black.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a white cop that I became friends with who told me that's what they call when they follow blacks in neighborhoods driving while black. Oh, he got you for DWB, huh? And someone said, what's DWB? And the cop and myself, who never talked about it before, looked at the guy and said, a white guy, and said, driving while black. Because I automatically knew what it was and I never heard it before. I just was able to put it together. And so this is actually a term and a phrase that they use, white cops, and this is a term that black people understand.
Oh,
So
Keep your mouth shut.
those are my experiences with that.
wow. You just taught me something. I didn't know that.
Because we're not pulled over. All of my brothers,
Right.
my sisters never really had any problems with getting pulled over.
Right.
But every last one of my brothers, and I have 8 brothers, they've been pulled over multiple times in the same year, same area, and on the north end of Champaign, which is lower income, all the time. And my husband, until we got a minivan, he would get pulled over all the time. And now he's not been pulled over in a good while because the windows are a little bit darker and it's a minivan, and so, you know, given that suburban kind of thing. But my brothers, I mean, you know, they just get pulled over all the time and just crazy stuff.
I'm always scared when I'm looking at TV. I mentioned this before. When I'm looking at TV and it says, look out for a description of an African American male.
Oh,
that's my
Lord.
husband.
Ooh, he
Oh,
always
Lord.
gets
So I'm
so
like, okay.
nervous.
So I'm like, how tall is he?
Right.
You know, they say something like 5'9". I'm like, good. I'm 6'3". So you know, it's silly, but
I know.
it's sad. But, and I'm like, I'm really trying to make sure. You know, you can't protect yourself from everything. All you can do is pray and go and try to use your common sense.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where it is. But when I see it on TV, I'm checking the
he does.
description.
We do too.
If he
Yeah.
over 6 feet,
Yeah.
I'm in the house.
I know
I'm just
you
like,
are.
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
take well-lit streets with a whole bunch of people and go straight home. You know.
Yeah, my brothers, they do the same thing. And it what make it so bad, all of my brothers except for one is within that height description. and you know, and my brothers, they're of the hip hop culture, so you know, they wear they dark hoodies, they dark clothes, jeans. Like that could be anybody. And then you know, so I asked them, so where were you at that time? You know, make sure you got your story together. That's right. You got witnesses.
Right. You got your
Have some backup.
Right, because
Exactly.
I mean,
Gotta
you
be
have
smart.
to know. They've been pulled over unnecessarily or followed
Yeah.
for blocks on end in the Champaign-Urbana area, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, if it's like too many of them in the
Oh,
car,
that's another thing. You don't do that.
it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you're a target, and so the cops just start following you.
True, true.
Yeah, my mother taught me. She said, when you ride in a car, have a child and a woman. She said, have a child. She never wanted me. Every time I would leave the house when I was growing up, I'm like, I'm going to the store. Take your sister. I'm like, Mom, I don't want to take my sister. You know, I'm 17 and I don't want to take my sister. You know, but she always, take your sister. Put the baby seat in the car. I'm gonna get my name put on the license plates if you want to personalize. I'm like, Mom, wants your name on my plates. You know, so stuff like that. You know, just whatever she felt that would kind of help a situation or somebody who
Right.
targeted me.
Yeah, that leads to another thing, and how my mom, you know, like what your mom trying to protect you from any, mistreatment from the police and everything. My mom always talked to my brothers about, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. If you ever get pulled over, you do this and that and the other. Don't have too much mouth, especially you so-and-so, because you know how you are.
Yes.
And because you be the first one to get locked up or be the next Rodney King being beat,
Exactly.
Well, she wouldn't say that per se,
I
but we
understand what you're
clearly got
You
the picture of what she
understood.
was
You
talking
absolutely
about.
right.
Because black males are targeted
Oh, yeah.
unnecessarily.
Yes.
And Champaign has a reputation for
Yeah,
it,
they do.
unfortunately.
Urbana too.
Urbana also, they just they neighbors,
Yeah.
I remember my stepbrother. I remember my family telling him not to hang out like on the street corners.
Oh, definitely.
Like with a group of other African American males. That was a big no-no. Because I remember even growing up around my house when the guys would go out, and they might not even be doing anything. They might just be outside, like the girls who go out there and jump rope, or just out there just socializing. And I remember numerous of times when the cops would come over and break it up. They just couldn't be standing outside and not,
Call it mob action. You
Uh-huh.
can't hang out with
Yeah.
your friends in front of your block, in front of your house.
In front
It's
of
mob
your house.
action. They'll arrest you for it.
And it's not just inner cities. It's we graduated from SIU in Carbondale, and if any of the fraternity guys were on the strip, and if it was too many of them at one time, cops were coming. But then they had the Halloween weekend, and they tear the whole city up. Tear the whole,
Now,
just,
the ones that tear up the city was white kids.
right.
It was caught on videotape and everything.
Yes.
They tore up the street.
Yes, just
Tore
tore it
up.
all
Windows,
up.
cars.
Halloween weekend.
Nothing. That was the first time I ever saw a white kid throw tear gas. Throw a bottle. He threw a bottle at the cop, and the cop just kind of deflected it, and then the cop didn't do nothing. And I sat there with my mouth down to I said, they can throw bottles at the cop. I think I was 21
away
years
with
old
it.
when I saw that, and I had never seen nothing like that because the cop just deflected it, and they kept tearing up the street.
And it's in our institutions, you know what I'm saying? This is higher learning, And it's right there. It was right in our face, you know what I'm saying? So it's not just, in the inner city where the black kids are. It's not like that. You know what I'm saying? It's all over.
It's on college
Suburbs,
campuses, too.
college campuses, all over the place.
Yeah.
It was the worst.
I heard about Halloween weekend when you come from school. I heard not to even be bothered down when it's time for Halloween. You get up out of there if you black.
We do, and we
You
left.
got to go.
Everybody would go back home or go to St. Louis or somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, this next question may be kind of tough. I want you to think about maybe times that you may have unconsciously perhaps had an unconscious feeling or sense that something about the white culture might be superior, and as a result of that, having felt yourself discriminating against yourself or perhaps someone else of your race or culture.
I don't know, again, for me, I don't know if it's just this run up in Mississippi thing or not. But racism is just so overt that we didn't, my mother was really, you love everybody, you treat everybody well, these straight Christian values. My dad was like, you need to just, stay in your place, do what the white man says, make sure that you don't get into trouble or anything like that. So I grew up with the sense that, I don't like white people. But my mother says you have to love everybody. And so I work from that standpoint. Now my brothers, however, they were like, I don't want to deal with any white people. Hate white people. Didn't want to have anything to do with them. And for a long time, I just really, I didn't accept that. I've never accepted that white people were better. But because I knew that what was happening to us in Mississippi, now I didn't know that this didn't go on everywhere else, was not right. And I believe that based on what my mom taught us. My dad, watching my dad, it would really make me mad when teenage white boys would come up to our house and my dad would say yes sir to them. That to me I knew was wrong because there's no way that one of my brothers or I could say, just call my dad by his first name and he'd be saying yes sir to us. That just was just not right, to me. So I don't know that I've ever felt like white people were better.